Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is February the 25th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to ya. Hopefully you humped and didn't get humped. Unless that's what you're into, then by all means, have at it, my little rabbits. But no, Monday was good. Monday was solid. I would say we officially bounced back from a dismal Tuesday. That is for sure. That being said, I did have a bit of a rough start. Sleep, kind of elusive, kind of evasive for me. A bit of a rocky night in that regard. But overall, I slept enough. But I wound up just having a late start, and I didn't wind up getting to work until 20 minutes after. So that wasn't good. That was not how I really wanted to start the day. But we get there. The work's not looking too crazy, so that was good. The crusher was swapped out. We love to see it. So it was nice to be back to business as usual. We more or less go through the whole day, no problems. I will say the only hiccup from my perspective was my lead hit me up. Like maybe there was 2 hours, there's 2 hours and a half to go in my day. And they asked me, hey, can you come upstairs and do putbacks? Essentially, when you're really dead, when you're all caught up. And I was like, okay, I know what that means. You want me to make an appearance here, move some bins, do that. Okay, all right. So I, went upstairs after a little bit, did literally 2 gray bins, and then I went right back downstairs and finished my shift. So it was overall good. We love to see it. Also, we did get a treat today. I got I think it's called a butter toffee, like a chocolate bar. So, that was nice. A little frozen treat there. We love that for the free. But yeah, overall, it was a good day at work. I will say something I've been having this bit of an issue. I was going a little owie today at work. Was that there's an injury I've kind of been trying to explain that kind of feels like it's in the back and in the front of my left side. And it's like whenever I'm raising up like my arm or like kind of putting on any weight or pressure, I'm kind of feeling it. And it's like, it makes you want to say, hey, yo. And I was talking to my gym bro at work, and he goes, oh, that's your lat, bro. He's like, that's your lat. Your lat's maybe a little fucked up a little bit, maybe. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because I generally do try to do a lot of lat work, or at least it's a part of my compound movements when I'm doing upper body. So that kind of helped give me a little bit of perspective. I kind of thought that maybe at best I was just like a rotator cuff thing, but that stopped making sense when I started feeling it in my front, or in my chest area too at times. So I was a little confused, but that was very illuminating. But anyway, that's useful information as we take to the gym. The gym, as I'm walking in, not 1, not 2, 3 pips deep. So I was like, that's not good. But we get in there. I see there's no Smith machine. I was able to get on free weights, so I do that. Now, normally I would do 2 what I call circuitous sets. So essentially saying, hey, I'm going to do this at my heavier weight that I chose to do, drop weight, do another of the same things. This time I just did 1 and then proceeded to go through the rest of my, free weight work. Did that, and then I moved on to core work really quick, and then just immediately went to an hour of cardio. And that was my day. I decided not to do anything too extra, mainly because of that. I don't want to say injury. I feel like that's a little bold, a little bit too dramatic to say, oh, injury. But also, I feel like anything that I would rate over a 2 on the pain scale that gives me any kind of pain that I need to worry about for over a day, I do like to consider, hey, it's injured enough. Be careful, let's actually consider that as we go into the gym, or like how hard are we going to go to the gym? Do we even go to the gym? I think that's kind of how I view quote unquote injuries like that. But yeah, so overall today was good. I didn't feel like I made anything worse, so that's good. Knock on wood for that. And hopefully by this weekend, I will be able to do some heavy lifting. I would really like that. But But yeah, no, overall, it was a good gym session, especially given the amount of people there. I was able to make the most of it, so I'm happy with that. W. Let's see here. After work, I made a quick pit stop, or after the gym, I'm sorry. After the gym, I made a quick pit stop and got some beers. So there we go, which I'm going to be mentioning in the startup. Got a little new beer unlocked. So yeah, but overall, we came home, we got our stretch in, we got our snack in, and yeah, we did a little research. Also, I haven't talked about this in a while, but I guess we can say a little weigh-in check, weight check. It was nice for me because I've been, feeling a little bit rocky in terms of like the up down, and I was eating crazy. I was so worried too last night eating that big old Chipotle meal. I went so wild on that. It was so debaucherous. But I was like, oh man, I know my weight's gonna be really bad, and I'm preparing for the disappointment. But I literally was staying at my maintenance weight. I was so happy to see that. So that made me excited, and I've definitely kind of come to the conclusion that it's little wins like this that are nice. Like those are the things that I can still kind of hang my hat on personally, which feel good. Where it's like, hey, I know you thought that you were just going to be a huge, massive fat ass, but actually you're doing great. You're doing fine. Everything's okay. And also still having the mentality of like, well, even if I did see the worst number, that's all right. We're going to be able to work our way back down to the maintenance weight that I want to be at, and it's going to be fine. So I like that I have that mentality, that I generally have been feeling good about my weight. I do maybe think that we're seeing a little bit of progress on the body fat, but I don't want to actually submit that yet, because I know that's always potentially something that's subject to change given my wild eating habits. But yeah, I do feel good with the consistency, even though I know I've been kind of changing a little bit here, a little bit there. Things are still feeling good in that regard. So yeah, just checking in there. How about that? All right, so let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. But yes, we do have a Bev corner. The beer I got is from Orion Geist. I actually did already open it. I already sampled it. It's called Pixel, and they have it labeled as a cold IPA. I don't know what that means, because then have I had a hot IPA? I don't know. But they said it's got peach and grapefruit notes. That's sure, fine. It's so like hoppy. That's usually just what I taste on the front, and I just know there's some kind of fruit involved, and that's just generally what my palate is willing to accept. But yeah, it generally tasted good. I generally enjoy it, so I'm definitely going to enjoy crushing the 6-pack. And also 7% alcohol. Y'all know that's really the only thing I give a shit about, is how high that volume is. And honey, this does not disappoint in that regard, so I'm already excited. But yeah, there you go. Mentioned the Ryan guys there. Not sponsored, by the way. Oh, one day I'll get a beer sponsor. You know what beer I want. I want to be a Milwaukee's Best Boy. Ooh, I know, and I'm sure some of you guys are scoffing, and you're like, ugh, Milwaukee's Best. I love it. I love it. You even get an extra 3 per fucking pack. It's just good economic value. Doesn't matter who your president is. Okay? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yummy. All right. All right. Our first story comes from the Associated Press. Cuba says it killed 4 people aboard a Florida registered speedboat that opened fire on soldiers. Cuban soldiers killed 4 people and wounded 6 others aboard a Florida registered speedboat that had entered Cuban waters and opened fire on the soldiers first, the Cuban government said Wednesday. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters that he was made aware of the incident and that the U.S. is now gathering its own information to determine if the victims were American citizens or permanent residents. We have various different elements of the U.S. government that are trying to identify elements of the story that may not be provided to us now, Rubio said while at the airport in Besa Terry, St. Kitts, where he was attending a regional summit with Caribbean leaders. U.S. President Donald Trump's top diplomat refused to speculate on what happened, saying it could be a wide range of things, and that the U.S. will not solely rely on what the Cuban authorities have provided just thus far. And he goes on to say, suffice it to say, it is highly unusual to see shootouts in open sea like that. It's not something that happens every day. It's something, frankly, that hasn't happened with Cuba in a very long time. Which there's some kind of irony about this statement and this whole situation entirely to me, because we've been in the Caribbean, in the Pacific, blowing motherfucking speedboats up at will, playing judge, jury, and executioner. They weren't even firing shots first. We blew them up and did not ask any questions, okay? And if they lived, we tried to double tap them in a lot of cases, okay? So now, we're in a situation where we're getting, I don't know, a little bit of a whiff of our own medicine here. And I find Marco Rubio weirdly almost diplomatic. Like, he's just like, he hasn't quite, I figured he would just be instantly fire and brimstone. Now, don't get me wrong. I get the feeling in maybe the upcoming days, is speculative, that, the Trump administration, Marco Rubio, is going to start sounding off and maybe using this as some kind of springboard to do more. But granted, they already have a fucking anaconda, economic anaconda plan going here with the embargo plus what's going on lately with the whole oil shit. So, I don't know. We don't have any details, though, like Lil Narco Rubio says. I would like to get more information before we go further. But yes, we do have the Cuban story, which is saying, hey, speedboat, they fired on us first. We fired back. Motherfuckers down. I don't know what to tell you. So I don't know. We will see. Cuba's government said 1 Cuban officer was injured, 4 suspects killed, and 6 others injured. So a little bit of the tail of the tape there. I imagine this is going to be a story we come back to. But yeah, there was just something that was just so full circle about this. And it's like, it doesn't feel good when it happens to one of our, motherfuckers. But we don't know. Details to come. But still, man. And it's a situation that we are completely escalating and making this way. We are making this shit as hostile as it is. And I'm sure, we're going to find a way to make sure this is all Cuba's fault, But, I don't know. It's just hard for me to see it any other way. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. We actually got to go to Texas. A story that's kind of making the rounds that I was like, all right, let's go ahead and cover. From ABC Eyewitness News, or ABC 7, Eyewitness News. And then also there's a story we're going to bounce to from ksat.com, but this is a bit of a secondary perspective, and I'll get to that. But this is going too far. Texas representative appears to pursue staffer who... Excuse me. Let me run that back. This is going too far. Texas representative appears to pursue staffer who died in explicit text messages. All right, here. Got a little bit of a frozen computer issue, maybe. Let me see if I can reload it. Oh, you've got to be... Okay. All right. Thank you for bearing with me, my dear listeners. Sorry about that. Okay. Text messages appear to show Texas Representative Tony Gonzales pursuing a relationship with his former staffer, Regina Santos Alvarez. We're going to say Alvarez. Mea culpa if I'm getting that wrong. More than a year before she died by suicide. The messages were provided to ABC News by Santos I'm going to keep getting this wrong. Santos Alvarez, or Alvarez's widower. In a series of texts from May of 2024, Gonzales, a married father of 6, repeatedly requests sexy photos from Santos Alvarez. The aide seems initially hesitant, writing, "You don't really want a hot picture of me." Gonzales continues saying, "I'm such a visual person and sorry." He also appears to ask Santos Alvarez about her sexual preferences. Santos Alvarez replies to the request by saying, "This is going too far, boss," but appears to engage in flirtation, saying, "How long have you thought I was this hot?" A final text dates from June of 2024, in which Santos Alvarez's husband, Adrian Alvarez, texts Gonzales and several staffers from Regina's phone, telling them that he is filing for divorce due to the discovery of her messages with Gonzales. Texting the group thread, she's been having an affair on him with your boss, Tony Gonzales. The recipients of those texts include several current staffers, though ABC News has redacted their names and contact information. The Gonzales campaign has not responded to ABC News' request for comment regarding the newly obtained text messages. Gonzales, who has denied allegations he engaged in an extramarital affair with a congressional aide who died by suicide last fall, calling on the Uvalde Police Department to release its report on her death despite objections from her family. So it's like, it's also cruel and weird because he's doing this, and then in another article that we're going to, we've already referenced or about to reference some more later, he essentially is like, yeah, and you guys are doing this political attack. It's so ugly. It's like, dude, you are doing this as well. Like, you are doing the mudslinging in a way that no one is asking you to defend your fucking self when there's literally fucking text messages about this shit with your fucking name on them. Santos Alvarez, 35, died on September 14th, 2025, after she doused herself with an accelerant and set herself ablaze at her home in Uvalde, Texas, Behar County, officials determined. Adrian Alvarez's lawyer, Bobby Barbera, Jesus Christ, Bobby Barrera, told ABC News that his client did not share the text messages with congressional investigators who are prepared to send a report to the House Ethics Committee as soon as next week. ABC News has confirmed that Gonzales has been under investigation by the Office of Congressional Conduct, which has already completed its probe. Due to its rules, the OCC may not transmit a report against a member of Congress 60 days prior to an election. Gonzales is in a primary contest on March 3rd, so the report is expected to be transmitted to the House Ethics Committee the following day. This rule is so crazy to me. Like, I get it because you don't want to get, like, October surprise or whatever, but it's like, someone died here, like, and we're essentially saying, but, all that, it can wait. It can wait. Like, this guy's got a whole political career here. Like, let's not sabotage it. Dude, that's wild to me. Last week, Gonzales told ABC News that Miss Santos Alvarez was a kind soul who devoted her life to making the community a better place. At least he had something kind to say there. But it is worth noting, and this is why I finally caught on to it recently, was, GOP Representative Lauren Boebert, also Republican Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, piped up and said, yeah, this guy's got to go. Like, he shouldn't run. I think at least at the very least, like, he should drop his bid for re-election. And there are obviously some people saying, no, he should resign right now. But also, it's one of those situations where these numbers are all very tight, right, in the House. And, the Senate, all that fucking shit. Congress, this shit is all, well, we're talking about the House. Let me not get in the fucking weeds here. Let me not be dumb. But the House it's like, I think it's down to like one person. So if a guy like Gonzales just resigned, something happened, that would be very bad. Not to mention, while he would be out, that potentially makes things like a deadlock. So you go to pan to House Speaker Mike Johnson, and he's like, let's let the investigation kind of run its course here. Let's not be quick to judge. Old Christian ass, fucking Ninja Turtle ass Mike Johnson. Sorry. I don't know. So yeah, that is part one of the situation. I've referenced this KSAT article. This was initially the one I went to read, and I didn't like it because it doesn't focus at all on Gonzales' part, in my opinion. It focuses more on Santos Alvarez's part alongside her husband. And essentially, I'm just going to, paraphrase this shit. But what is it? I'm going to get the names all mixed up. Santos Alvarez winds up finding out that her husband is having an affair with her best friend. And then when this all comes to light, she goes, okay, I'm going to, do it. And then she goes to set herself on fire. There's also, I think, a call to emergency dispatch where I think she calls and, tries to get help. And then her mom winds up calling. So it's a whole thing. I don't really want to read through all of it. But yeah, so essentially, I don't know exactly the timeline here. What affair started when or whatever. I think it's definitely a secondary part of this, and I don't know if this is something to the Gonzales angle of saying, "Hey, I had nothing to do with it," in terms of her, committing suicide or anything like that. That's neither here nor there. She was just a great worker, thumbs up. But it's like, dude, once again, to reference the fact that there's literally text messages between the two of you where you're saying the salacious shit, where you're abusing your power to have an affair with someone, or at least it looks like you're trying to elicit an affair with someone you work with that works under you. That's a problem. You shouldn't be in any kind of power, dude. Get the fuck out of here. You're gone. But no, he's sticking around. He's fighting the fight. He said, I will keep fighting for hashtag Texas 2023. Awesome. Yay, man. Could you imagine you're a constituent and you find that shit out? That would be so icky. You always hate to see that shit. It's like, oh, that's my congressman. Oh, no. Ay, caramba. Anyway, okay. Let's go ahead and move on. I know I kind of just hacked and slashed on that. Hopefully the rest of my articles don't freeze up. But yeah, anyway. All right, let's mea culpa. Let's move along. Show must go on. No edits. You know how I do. The next story we have is from Axios. I wanted to get this story yesterday, but I really didn't have the time. So here we are today. Let me take a quick water break, though. All right. Scoop. Dems working on secret report found Gaza cost Harris votes. It's like, yeah. It was an issue for the campaign. It was an issue. Top Democratic officials who worked on the party's still secret autopsy of the 2024 election concluded that Kamala Harris lost significant support because of the Biden administration's approach to the war in Gaza, Axios has learned. The Democratic National Committee, or the DNC, DNC's research on what went wrong in 2024 has been under lock and key since party leaders decided last year to hide it from the public, a reflection of how explosively it could resonate within the party and beyond. And it's one of those things where you kind of just want to scratch your head and be like, why would they withhold something like this for so long? Like, why is it something that is just leaking, like, now of all time? And it's because it's like, dude, it's so embarrassingly bad, and it also breaks a lot of notions. Like, I've definitely had conversations with plenty of my friends who, are very libbed up, and, we all went through this fucking shit. Y'all remember how I was sounding off and popping off about this? But it is one of those things where we all knew this was a fucking issue. We all knew this was a fucking problem. The Biden administration was literally helping Israel do a whole ass fucking genocide. We covered that shit day to fucking day, how they were fucking enabling it, shielding them in every fucking facet they could in terms of actually on the ground, actually in the fucking UN, any kind of international way they could. So at the end of the day, you see Harris, she didn't deviate from that much. What was her plan? She goes, oh, no, I recognize that what's going on is bad, and Bibi, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's making a little bit of mistakes there. But she was in no way going to deviate from what Biden was doing. She was doing it herself in the administration. She was going to continue to do that. Everyone saw that. And to say that was a nothing burger, that wasn't the issue, actually, it was because she was a woman. It's because she's a girl boss and they're not ready to let a lady in. No, dude, it's because they are not getting anything out of this administration. They're not going to get anything out of her, and they knew it. They knew at the end of the day, you weren't going to get anything here, where you lived, in America. Like, the plan, there was no real policy. There's nothing really good that you could latch onto. And then abroad, you had that. So what was there? We weren't going to build back better too. And meanwhile, you had Donald Trump on a fucking whole ass wave with his weavy ass little bullshit, selling you whatever dream he could. And everyone was going to buy and eat that shit up. Like, his base ate it up. And you had independents who were like, yeah, I didn't want to vote for the cadaver guy. And I don't want to vote for her because she's just selling the same thing he was selling. So what is there? No, I'm just going to either not vote or I'm going to vote for Trump. And you had leftists saying pretty much the same shit just out loud and saying, yeah, no, I'm not going to vote for her. And yes, you had guys like me who are very upset about that. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you know me. I will vote for, because I realize you have Ghoul 1 or you have Ghoul 2. And I'm just going to choose for the Ghoul who's at least selling the politics that I like. Yeah, man, it sucks. It sucks. But I don't like not voting. We've talked about this and I'm sure we're going to talk about it again. But anyway, it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, man, I think that you can understand why they want to hide this shit, but it's just pretty apparent. And I don't think that, because I've had this issue since post Trump has been elected. We've talked about it, a bit here and there, but there's been nothing out of the Democratic Party that makes you go, oh, they've got it. They've really reconstituted themselves. No, we got Zohran Mamdani, mayor in New York, and he's like social democrat. That was cool. Like cool vibey things have happened. But at the end of the day, nothing real, nothing of merit. There's no Bernie Sanders coming to save us. So I don't know, man. This shit fucking sucks. And they know that this shit fucking sucks. And they're not really coming up with anything other than being like, yeah, we got to like come up with some package that's like Centerism is cool. Hey, Donald Trump sucks. Which once again, dude, Kamala Harris tried that shit and it didn't work. So I don't know how you're going to run back the same bullshit again and think you're going to get a better result. Like, they literally could lose to whoever the fuck they put up. And I mean, if it's even allowed, who knows? Who fucking knows? 2028's a mystery, right? But yeah, I mean, I know we should probably get into more of the details here. I mean, Axios, it's not even that long of a read. But I kind of wanted to hit this Isaiah's way, if you don't mind, would you kindly? But yeah, by all means, read it. I'm sure, though, like I said, the still secret autopsies has not yet been revealed. But I mean, yeah, man, like they are trying to do everything but the right fucking thing here. Like, yeah, we got to find a liberal Joe Rogan. No, the fuck you don't, man. You just got to go on these podcasts and just like, once again, sell people a policy that they actually can believe in. And then once again, big number 2 here. Don't do a genocide. Don't help a fucking genocide. That would be cool, man. Because everyone's seeing you do that. And they're like, yeah, that's yucky. Yeah, that sucks. And once again, of course, did Trump continue on with that shit? But I even mentioned this before. If Kamala Harris had won, I don't think we have, like, I think we still have the same situation where, like, there was never even like a ceasefire moment where we have right now, which once again, that ceasefire is very fucking Swiss cheese. It is being abused every day. Like, we already know. We've already talked about that. And I'm sure there's going to be more stories that are going to bring that fucking shit up, that this genocide is still fucking going on. But that being said, Kamala Harris would have just been like, Auntie says bad, tisk, tisk, tisk. That's it. There would have been no firm hand to actually stop or even reduce what was going on in Gaza, So, like, we can just be real about that, right? Like, come on now. I don't know. Not to say, once again, it's not that's a dub for Donald Trump. It's not like that's actually any, can't even put that in his peace thing, even though I know he tries. But yeah, this was worth talking about. But once again, I think real ball knowers know this is not a surprising read. You're not going to be like, I can't believe it. But yeah, I mean, it would just be nice to see the Democratic learn something. But I highly doubt it. Anywho, let's talk about Cash Money Patel. Let's go ahead and get into him. He's got to be our freak of the week. I know, like, what was it, a week or two ago, we talked about Kristi Noem. This feels very much in the same spirit of that. From the Hill. Durban whistleblowers accuse Patel of jet usage, decision-making that hindered FBI responses. New whistleblower allegations shared with Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois prompted the top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday to accuse FBI Director Kash Patel of irresponsibly joyriding on the Bureau's jet, which Durbin said had compromised high-stakes investigations. The new allegations sent to supplement an existing review Durbin requested of the Government Accountability Office and the Inspector General at the Justice Department come as Patel is under fire for going to Italy, where he was seen both attending meetings and celebrating with the U.S. national hockey team in the wake of the Olympic gold medal victory. We didn't talk about that at all. That was actually something I kind of talked about with my homies in the group chat. But yeah, he like came through, crashed it. He's like, yeah, dude. He's drinking beers. He's singing like Tommy McGraw, whatever the fuck. Some country fucking singer. I think at one point they even get Trump on the phone. They even slammed the like women's hockey team. It's to me, it's a cringe video. Like I get it. I love a good like post, big win. celebration. I can remember Michael Jordan, with the fucking trophy and like champagnes everywhere. That's just fucking cool. But yeah, you see fucking Cash Money Patel come through. Yeah, USA, US, like, ew, dude, gross. Get the fuck out of here. It was giving cringe core. But yeah, he did that shit on taxpayer dime. And that's just been a thing that people have been making like reels on and fucking clowning about, because it's like, it's just crazy how much of a joke he just treats all of this shit. And it is very frustrating to see this. Also, to see him blowing more. This isn't mentioned in the article, but he spent more money on his, I guess this is alleged. I got to put the alleged on there. His Israel honeypot girlfriend, where he's like giving her extra security detail that she does not need. That, once again, that is taxpayer dime. Also, part of the flights, it's like, hey, I got to make sure my girl gets there in style safely. So she got to hop on the fucking jet. She got to go, man. What are you going to do? And once again, that is very akin to the same thing that Kristi Noem has been getting into, where she literally made sure that she got her own little personal fly jet thing. And she's like, oops, I left my fucking blankie on and I gotta fire that guy because he didn't fucking pick it up. Like, the pilot's now nixed or shit like that, man. This is the same kind of vibe. It's the same kind of fucking buffoonery at once again, our expense, literally. And then also, it is crazy that there has been some overlaps in terms of like, it's actually leading to faux pas. It's actually leading to like, issues in law enforcement, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. I'm kind of wanting to fast forward here. In one case, FBI pilots who had flown Patel were unable to be dispatched to the Charlie Kirk shooting because they had hit flight time hours that triggered Federal Aviation Administration rest records. Dude, they couldn't We Are Charlie Kirk, bro. They couldn't hit the fucking Kirk way to fucking really get on the scene because goddamn Cash Patel got in the way. And meanwhile, that motherfucker's like, see you in Valhalla, bro. Dude, you know what? I love it, though. I do love it. We deserve these people. We deserve these fucking dudes. We deserve our scam blondies. We deserve our Cash Money Patels, dude. And I think my favorite part is I picture a J. Edgar Hoover, like, just rolling around in his fucking grave, dude. Just like, I can't believe this is who's running my job right now. And like, or just like him being summoned in like an avatar state, and he's just like, I can't believe what we've become. I don't know. That gives me some solace, that we're all kind of just stuck on the punchline here. But yeah, I mean, it has also led into other like, live operational issues, because at that point, what the fuck is the FBI gonna do here? I mean, at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk got necked and the motherfucker was already like, hitting the fucking bricks. It was him coming back for the gun that really fucked him. That's a whole other fucking thing. Anyway, Patel determined I got a little bit ahead of myself. In another case cited by Durbin, it was not Patel's travel schedule, but his decision-making in how to respond to the Brown University shooting that delayed the FBI's arrival to the scene. Patel determined that the hostage rescue team should be on standby to respond to the shooting, rather than closer SWAT teams based in New York and Boston. All the SWAT teams in the region would have been aware of the Brown University shooting and ready to respond if needed, Durbin wrote. But in putting the hostage team on standby in place of the SWAT teams, Patel froze the aircraft's usage by any other FBI team, forcing responders to drive overnight to arrive on scene to process evidence. So it's like, dude, you're making the job harder than it has to be. You're supposed to be making this easier. You're supposed to be coordinating in a way that makes this more efficient. And he's just doing the opposite. So, I mean, once again, if you're an accelerationist and you see this shit, you're like, well, damn, good. It's great to know that the FBI really is just actually fundamentally worse. But then you think about the Nancy Guthrie situation, and it's like, once again, this is the guy running the case, and he's over here fucking throwing beer around in fucking Italy like he matters. Over here hitting like podcasts with Dan Bongingo, wasting everybody's fucking time, jerking themselves off. Like, we're doing such a good job, dude. You did such a good job. You're such a great podcaster, bro. Oh my God, dude. Donald Trump's like the best president. Like, what are we doing here? It's so crazy to me. Of course his team or whatever have come out and, refuted this. Let's see. They said like the claims around the Kirk shooting were egregious. noting that Patel was on an official travel the day the conservative activist was killed. Cash was in D.C. on September 10th and in New York the next day for the 9/11 ceremonies, not personal travel. Durbin and whoever he's speaking to are full of it. Let's see here. But once again, though, it's crazy because in a lot of the situations we do have you on camera. There are flight logs for this shit that people actually track and they can see. This is where you were. This is where you are, man. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think this is just fucking losergate. And it's crazy that since we are in this Trump 2.0 thing, you can be as shitty as you want to be at your job. As long as you're willing to glaze Trump on command, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be A-O-fucking-K, dude. It's the second you don't do that you're probably gonna get fucking turfed. But, until then, you're fine. You're ruining the roost. You get to keep your fiefdom. All right. We have one more story that I wanted to cover. And, man, it was one that, like, I heard it and I'm like, I knew I wanted to cover it because it's very much like some stories we've covered before in terms of, like, relics, priceless artifacts, being looted by some colonial power and then hoarded in some kind of way. But this had an extra twist that when I really came back to it, it really fucking made my blood boil. So I knew I wanted to talk about it. I knew I wanted to cover it. So here we are. But yeah, let's take our last break. Let me reconstitute ourselves. It's been an episode. We've seen some fire, we've seen some rain on this episode, okay? But yeah, let's try to finish strong. Let's try to close it out nice. I doubt that, though. God damn. Oh my, oh my, oh my. From The Guardian. Royal artillery under fire after denying access to looted Asante treasure. The Royal Artillery is facing criticism after it emerged they are refusing public access to an extraordinary object looted by the British Army in the 19th century from the Asante people in modern-day Ghana. The glistening golden ram's head would seemingly be worthy of any museum, but it remains hidden within the regiment's mess at Larkhill in Wiltshire. The artifact, which I want to take a pause here. I do love how the guys and gals in UK spell things like artifact. They spell it very interestingly. That's not a word, but they spell it in a really fun way. Anyway, is among treasures pillaged by the British Army from the sprawling old royal palace in the Asante state capital, Kumasi, in 1874, before soldiers set fire to the city and blew up the palace. The British returned in 1896 and looted the rebuilt palace. They're like, we want seconds. Their commander later recalled, I had shown the power of England. Dude, can I take it aside here? I've been listening to history on China. And initially it starts in like ancient time. And now we're finally getting into like the modern era or whatever. And like we're getting into like the opium wars, and like seeing this shit, like and listening to this shit in like slow motion is just so frustrating because I'm finally getting to see how they get to Hong Kong. And it's like, oh, and this is going to set up the whole thing. And then they get to their way out and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, make sure you keep the democracy. It's like, you guys are barbarians. You guys are conquering motherfuckers. You guys are the worst people fucking ever. And it's frustrating. It's just frustrating to see that shit and learn about this shit. But you need to learn about this shit because it's happened so many times. They just got so used to moving like that. Oh man, it's just frustrating. And I know they get a lot of flack. They get a lot of the like, they're kind of like the Super Mario of colonialists, but don't get me wrong. I learn about Dutch history and then things like that and blah, 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 blah. Insert European country here. And I go, oh wow. Everyone just got on boats and just got at it, huh? That was just, what a time. Anyway. Anyway, let's see. The spoils of the Anglo-Asante Wars were sold and dispersed among private and public collections, including the Victoria and Albert Museum and the British Museum, which in 2024 made the historic decision to return 32 pieces of gold court regalia to the Manhia Palace Museum in Ghana, although only on long-term loan. Which I'm pretty sure that's a story we've covered. So, once again, you're kind of getting my motif, my beef here. You know what I mean? The most impressive of the looted objects is arguably the beautifully cast ram's head with sprawling horns, about 19 centimeters in width. Among newspaper reports in 1874, the Shipping and Mercantile Gazette reported, "The best trophy is a ram's head. This is very valuable." Barnaby Phillips, a former BBC correspondent who reported for over a decade from Mozambique, Angola, Nigeria, and South Africa, was taken aback when his request to see it and researching his forthcoming book was turned down for security reasons. It's an army institution holding the spoils of war, but they say it's not safe to show it to me. That's somewhat ironic. Let's see. Let's just keep reading this. The letter from the Royal Artillery's regimental secretary was curt and categorical. The regiment was unable to agree to my request to see the Asante gold ram's head held in the officers' mess room at their barracks in Larkhill. It has long been our policy, primarily on security grounds, not to allow public access to items held in the regiment's private collection, wrote the secretary. He clarified that it was for insurance reasons. Why do you have a private collection? Why? That should not be a fucking thing. Let's see here. We're just going to skip ahead a little bit here. Phillips believes that the Royal Artillery may be embarrassed by the stand that was commissioned for the ram's head in 1875, as it depicts 3 black boys in loincloth as if holding the object aloft, while its base is engraved with words commemorating the battles and capture of the city. He said, the stand transformed the ram's head into a trophy and submitted its ceremonial role in the officers' mess. It also, from the perspective of the 21st century, is shockingly bad taste. Which I would agree if that's what's fucking happened here. Is essentially they just told it, they made it their little gloat totem, and they don't want to show the world their little gloat totem. They're like, oh yeah, that'd be pretty fucking gauche for you to see what we added on to it. And that the fact that we're not going to give it up. Because you won't even let people see it. Do any kind of research on it, examine it, whatever. You won't do the secondary shit thing of like letting a museum, it belongs in a museum. You won't even fucking do that. And finally, the best fucking thing you could fucking do is give it back to the people that it's supposed to be. It originates from, who made it. It is a frustrating fucking thing that you can't even get your history back in 2026 in this modern ass fucking society we have that we are so-called living in. I don't know, man. It tilted me, man. It's Black History Month, man. What the fuck? So yeah, there's more here. There's details. And who can say? I hope that there's some public pressure here and that they have to show it at the very fucking least. You keep it in this fucking situation, you keep it in a state. So let's fucking, show the class. Why not? Oh, it's scary now. Anyway, we'll see what comes of that. I would love to get an update where we actually, they at least have to get to that point of it. Right. But yeah, time will tell there. Time will fucking tell. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have. This episode ran a little bit longer than I liked. Once again, sorry for the faux pas, but we got through it. I didn't have to reset the episode. I hate when I do that. Free ways to hit me or no, let's not talk about the free shit yet. Let's become a newsie today. Let's support the effort today. You can become one right here, right now. Right here, right now. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But if you don't do any of that, that's okay. That's fine. I really appreciate you listening. I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate you, not minding me fuck up. And, cause that's an everyday, that's an every episode thing, but you've hung out with me for so long, and I look forward to hanging out with you some more. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.